In a quiet American village surrounded by endless cornfields and dusty gravel roads, lived a 13-year-old girl named Emily Carter. Her family was poor, struggling to make ends meet. Her father worked long hours in the fields. Her mother took on odd jobs for neighbors, and Emily often looked after her little brother, Sam. Their small wooden farmhouse carried the weight of hardship, creaking floors, patched up windows and empty shelves in the pantry. Yet inside Emily's heart, something powerful burned. Unlike other girls who dreamed of city lights, pretty dresses, or even just escaping village life, Emily dreamed of becoming a wrestler. She had once seen a wrestling match on a flickering old TV in the neighbor's house. The roars of the crowd, the strength, the determination, it all left her breathless. From that moment, she knew wrestling wasn't just a sport, it was her destiny. But in her world, that dream seemed ridiculous. Wrestling was for boys, for men, for people with resources. Villagers scoffed at the thought. Even her classmates mocked her when she talked about it. "Emily, you're too skinny," one said. "Girls don't wrestle," another sneered. Still, she refused to give up. After school, while other kids played games, Emily ran home, tossed her bag aside, and stepped into the yard. The rough ground became her wrestling mat. She practiced footwork, rolled in the dirt, and even wrestled with her own shadow. Sometimes, little Sam giggled and pretended to fight her, cheering when she won. Bruises marked her arms, her knees bore scratches, but she smiled through it all. At night, when the house fell silent and the lantern flickered low, Emily whispered to herself, "One day, I'll prove them all wrong. One day, I won't just be the poor girl from the farm. I'll be somebody." That dream gave her strength. It filled her with courage even when her stomach was empty and her body ached. She didn't know how, and she didn't know when, but she was certain her story was only just beginning. The chance Emily had been waiting for came one crisp autumn morning at school. Posters went up in the hallway, announcing a wrestling competition for students. The moment her eyes caught the bold letters, her heart raced. This was it. This was her chance to prove herself. But as soon as she told her classmates she wanted to sign up, the laughter began. "Emily? Wrestling? Don't make us laugh. She'll be crushed in the first round." Even the teacher gave her a doubtful look, as if to say, "Are you sure?" Emily nodded, her voice steady. "Yes, I'm entering." At home, when she told her parents, her father frowned with worry. "Emily, we can't afford hospital bills. Wrestling is dangerous." Her mother added softly, "Sweetheart, people will talk, and you know how cruel they can be." But Emily's stubborn fire wouldn't be put out. "Mom, Dad, I have to do this. Please." The day of the competition arrived. The school gym buzzed with excitement. Parents filled the bleachers, kids shouted from the sidelines, and the mat gleamed under the bright lights. Emily walked in wearing a second-hand uniform that didn't quite fit. Her shoes were worn out, but her spirit was brand new. When her name was called, whispers spread across the gym. "She's going to embarrass herself. Why is she even here?" Emily blocked them out. She focused on her opponent, a taller, stronger boy with a cocky grin. The whistle blew. He lunged, confident he'd take her down in seconds. But Emily was faster. She ducked, twisted, and used every ounce of practice she had done in her backyard. The crowd gasped as she flipped him onto the mat. 2 points, Emily," the referee shouted. Her confidence grew. She wrestled with determination, her body moving with surprising grace and grit. The boy grew frustrated, and in his anger made sloppy moves. Emily seized her chance, pinning him down. The whistle blew again. Winner, Emily Carter. For a moment the gym was silent. Then, an eruption of cheers filled the air. Even those who doubted her stood up, clapping in disbelief. Emily's little brother, Sam, jumped in the stands, shouting, "That's my sister." Emily stood on the mat, chest heaving, eyes wide. She had done it. She wasn't just a dreamer anymore. She was a champion, even if it was only at school. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Winning at school was just the first step. For Emily, it opened a door she had only dreamed of. A few weeks later, her coach approached her after practice. "Emily," he said, his voice serious, "you've been chosen to represent our school at the city wrestling tournament." Her breath caught. The city tournament meant bigger crowds, tougher opponents, and athletes who had been training for years with professional coaches. Emily had only her backyard practice and sheer determination, but she nodded without hesitation. "I'll be ready." At home, her parents were anxious again. Her father sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Emily, this is the city. These kids train every day. What if you lose? What if you get hurt?" Emily met his gaze with quiet strength. "If I don't try, I'll regret it forever." The day of the tournament arrived, and Emily found herself inside a massive sports complex she had never seen before. The bright lights overhead, the polished mats, the echoing roars of the crowd. It was overwhelming. Dozens of wrestlers stretched, their muscles strong, their uniforms new and professional. Emily felt small in her patched uniform and worn shoes, but she reminded herself of the promise she made: never back down. Her first match was against a girl from the city, tall and well-trained. The girl smirked as if victory was already hers. But when the whistle blew, Emily's grit showed. She moved quickly, dodging every attempt, and used her cleverness to find openings. The crowd began to notice her style. It wasn't polished, but it was fierce. Emily's resilience carried her through, and against all odds, she won. Match after match, Emily advanced. The crowd started to cheer her name, impressed by her determination. Reporters scribbled notes. Parents leaned in, asking, "Who is that girl?" But not everything was easy. One opponent twisted her arm harshly, making her wince in pain. Another slammed her so hard she could barely breathe. Yet Emily rose every single time. She wiped her tears, tightened her stance, and fought harder. By the final round, Emily was exhausted, her body bruised, but her spirit unshaken. As the whistle blew, she gave everything she had left. With one final move, she pinned her opponent, and the referee raised her hand high. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause. Emily Carter, the poor girl from a small village, had just won the city tournament, and as she looked up at the cheering stands, she realized something. Her story was no longer just hers. It was becoming an inspiration to everyone watching. After her stunning victory at the city tournament, Emily's life changed overnight. Her name appeared in local newspapers. Village girl defeats city champions. Coaches from prestigious schools started noticing her, and offers of professional training came pouring in. For the first time, Emily felt the world was opening its doors. But success didn't erase her struggles. Traveling to events meant long, tiring bus rides. Money was still tight, and she often competed with borrowed gear. Sometimes she went hungry at tournaments because her family couldn't afford proper meals. And with each new level, her opponents grew tougher, faster, and stronger. Many mocked her rough background. Some whispered, "She won't last long." Yet Emily held on to her grit. Every insult became fuel. Every bruise, every defeat in practice, only sharpened her willpower. She remembered the small, dimly lit barn where she first pretended the hay bales were her opponents. She remembered her little brother's voice cheering, "Go, Emily." She remembered her mother's tears when she first stepped onto a real mat. Within a year, Emily qualified for the state championships. The arena was massive, packed with thousands of spectators and cameras flashing from every corner. As she walked onto the mat, her patched uniform replaced with a new one proudly bearing her name. She felt the weight of her village, her family, and every child who had ever been told they were too poor or not good enough. The matches were brutal. Opponents tried to break her spirit with sheer strength. But Emily had something they didn't, a fire that came from years of hardship. She refused to quit. No matter how many times she was slammed into the mat, her resilience became her greatest weapon. And then came the moment. In the final match, with the whole arena holding its breath, Emily executed a flawless move she had practiced 1,000 times in secret back home. Her opponent went down, and the referee lifted Emily's hand high. She was the champion. The crowd roared. Reporters rushed in. Emily's story spread beyond her state, inspiring millions. She was no longer just a village girl who loved wrestling. She was a symbol of perseverance. Years later, Emily stood on the stage, no longer in a wrestling singlet but in a suit, addressing young athletes. "I came from nothing," she told them, her voice steady, "but I never gave up. If I can do it, so can you." The little girl who once dreamed in a poor village had become a national icon, a name on everyone's lips. Emily Carter, the farmer's daughter, had wrestled her way into history.